Hey guys, Recovery Guy here. Today we're going to do a video called Does It Get Better? And we're going to answer the question of when you get sober, does it get better? I know that, the vast majority of addicts that come into recovery tend to relapse within their first month or even 2 months. So they, lots of times people are in and out of recovery, giving it kind of half-hearted attempts, and they never really get to experience what long-term sobriety is actually like. And, you hear people sharing at meetings, or if you're in a treatment center, the group facilitators, or, people will always tell you, like, it gets better, keep coming back, like, my life's amazing. But I thought I would maybe go a little bit more into detail about what exactly that means. Now, not everyone's going to have my story. Not everyone's like me, so some people, their sobriety journey is going to look different than mine. My description will kind of identify the patterns that we follow, roughly speaking, but again, some people progressed a lot faster than me, some people progressed a lot slower than me, some people were a little bit more social than me, and some people isolated a little bit more than me. So here we go. So 0 to 2 weeks. Obviously, this is going to be different for everybody depending on how many drugs that you did, but usually this is a period where you're in the fog. You're either detoxing or going through at least some form of mild withdrawal. You're really, really insecure in this point. A sense of impending doom is usually upon you. You're not eating well. You're not sleeping well. You look like shit. Your money's all gone. This is the time where you're the most vulnerable because you're just so damaged and ravaged by drugs and alcohol already. It's really easy to just as soon as you don't have them anymore, you're just so raw and so open that you would just do anything to just get high again or drink again. If you can make it through that, your second 2 weeks to, let's just say, 2 months are obviously a lot better. You actually, you get some proper sleeps, you get a couple proper meals, you're drinking water, stuff like that. You're starting to feel physically better. And actually a lot of people right after they detox, they tend to get sick right away. So they detox and they just start to feel better and they just start to get excited about the fact they don't feel like blowing their brains out anymore. And then they get sick and they go right back into it. Also with fentanyl, guys, for whatever reason these days, people tend to go through some weird kind of double detox on fentanyl. I don't know if that's a specific kind that was on the street for maybe a year or so, or it's just all fentanyl now, but there's this weird kind of double detox phenomenon. Anyways, you guys might go through that. After the detox phase, which is roughly 2 weeks, again, you start to get some meals, you start to get some sleeps in you, and you really rapidly start to physically feel better. And for some people, that kind of launches them out onto a pink cloud, and they're just happy not to be absolutely feeling like death again. And that lasts anywhere from a month to 3 months. Usually around 2.5, 3 months, people start getting a little bit stagnant. Obviously, this is depending on whether you're just living at home or you're in a treatment center or not. But usually at that time, people hit some kind of a weird plateau. This is not actually a plateau. It's a perceived plateau. You don't plateau in your recovery after only 2 months, but it's almost the stage where it's okay, I clearly feel better. My physical symptoms are clearly getting better. Now the mental symptoms are setting in, and this is just kind of on the cusp of now you should actually really be doing something about your sobriety. And up to this point, I would say the vast majority of addicts and alcoholics have not really done much in terms of step work, meditation, prayer. They're not super heavily involved in meetings or service. They might be fairly into fellowship at this point, but usually kind of still really insecure, really shy. So they're kind of on the outside looking in, and it's the rapid gains in their physical well-being have now kind of peaked, and they haven't kind of picked up on their psychological recovery, so they have a weird feeling of a plateau. And it's kind of the stage in which you start beating yourself up a little bit over knowing that you're not doing the proper amount of step work with the proper amount of vigor. In between 6 months to a year, usually by that time you're going to be finishing a set of steps. So at that time, 6 months to a year, things are pretty good. You pass the 6-month mark, you're feeling good about yourself, you're proud of yourself, you've probably done a set of steps, you're a little bit more comfortable going into meetings, you're kind of settling into a nice rhythm as far as recovery goes. You got your year cake looming on the horizon, you got the cheering squad. Usually by this time you should at least have done some amends, your family's back on your side, your significant other, if you have one, is back on your side, or you're texting your ex. And you're just comfortable in recovery. That between 1 and 2 years, it's pretty awesome. You did your 1-year cake. That's like a huge deal. It's a huge badge of honor. You're starting to get you're starting to develop a level of emotional stability that you haven't experienced in maybe ever, maybe since you were a kid. The stability that you experience as a result of staying sober and working a program of action for a period of time is really profound, but it is often quite subtle, and it often goes unnoticed. It's almost like when you're like looking at yourself in the mirror every day. It's hard to tell that you're aging, but then you see a picture of yourself 10 years ago and you're like, holy, that's what I used to look like. It's kind of the same thing when it comes to emotional stability. 1 minute, you'll just kind of realize like, whoa, all those things that used to bother me so much don't bother me that much anymore. And you will kind of realize the disparity between how you used to feel and how you feel now. And that will make you all warm and fuzzy only for a little bit. When you get to about 2 years clean, and I've heard this from a lot of other people, and I know everyone doesn't experience this, but when you hit 2 years clean, something happens where it's like, now life is happening. Now you have responsibilities. Now just being sober is no longer an accomplishment. I know getting sober for 1 year is an accomplishment, and it's really huge, and it's a big milestone, and it should be celebrated, and you can have your cake and people can say all these nice things about you, and that's all awesome and fine and dandy. But after a year, maybe around a year and a half, 2 years, is like, no longer is staying sober good enough. Now you really, really have to start doing some major soul searching. You're going to have to start attacking these areas in your life in which you fall short. And by the time you guys get a year sober, you've handled like a very large majority of like the demons that have been plaguing you, and now it's time to get into the stuff that you've been avoiding. And this is like a step 3 problem. It's like turning your will and your life over to the care of God as you understand Him. Everyone has no problem, sacrificing all these things in order to get sober, but the really deep-seated ones that we need to take care of tend to be left for later. They're kind of like the elephant in the room. It's the thing that we're ignoring, and now all of a sudden we have to face it. And it requires a lot of hard work, and it requires a lot of discipline, lots of meditation, lots of prayer. I would never advise anyone slack on the meditation or the prayer in their sobriety ever. I know that some people go through phases. Some people pray more when they're in a good mood. Some people pray more when they're in a bad mood. And I'm no different, but I always advise steady, consistent prayer throughout your sobriety. In year 2, things get tough because, you gotta, you're working again. You are supporting yourself again. If you don't like your job, you're going to be thinking like what you're going to be doing for the future. Like, what do I want out of life? And when you start thinking about those questions and you're like, I want to make some more money. Like, I want a job that sustains me. I want like a partner that is like actually loving and caring and not just super codependent like all my other partners. When you're all of these things can be accomplished by any one of you guys, but they do require a lot of hard work, and they require us to battle our more deep-seated instincts, and that's tiring. Now, my second year of sobriety, I was constantly tired because I was catching up. I was paying back old debts. I was making sure that I was doing everything properly. I was trying to hold myself to a higher moral standard, and it's taxing. But it's a good tired. It's a natural tired. It's like the tired you get after going for a big hike, not the tired you get after going for a huge bender and you're just mentally and spiritually depleted and there's like a sense of impending doom. It's a lot lighter and a more natural tired. Now, in between 3 and 4 years clean, it was like, boom, it was like a different level. And guys, like in recovery, we are and this is unfortunate because we want things right now as drug addicts. Like, we want to feel better right this second. It doesn't work like that. We're playing the long game. Human beings, if you take care of yourself, live between like 70 and 90 years on average. Like, this doesn't happen overnight. In between my third and my fourth year, a whole new level of stability. Like, I finally considered myself a normal person. I had my nice place, I had my nice car, not super nice, nice enough. I had my job. My parents weren't mad at me. My employers weren't mad at me. My girlfriend wasn't mad at me. My friends were pleased with me. I was doing the right thing when nobody was looking. I had my affairs in order, and life just started to become easy. Getting up for work wasn't a challenge anymore. Eating right wasn't a challenge anymore. Exercising wasn't a challenge. Everything that a human could do to benefit their life now seemed fun to me, and it was no longer a chore. I enjoyed seeing how I could push my boundaries in certain areas of my life. And I enjoyed seeing my progress in my ability to overcome fear. Each year I got sober, it became better and better. And it's hard to even conceptualize what better looks like. When I was in my first year of sobriety, like when around my first year cake, I was like, this is it. How could life even get any better than this? I've completely topped out. And the reason why I couldn't imagine what it would be like to have 3 years sober is because I never had 3 years sober. I never experienced the level of stability and engagement with life that I experienced in between my third and my fourth year. So I couldn't even begin to imagine what it would be like. And like, I know people say this a lot of times, it's like, you have the promises. I had my checklist of all the things that I wanted to accomplish in my first year. And I was fairly realistic about it. It wasn't like $3 million and, you know, all this stuff. But I accomplished those way before my first year. My first year was way better than I could have pictured it. And it was the same between my third and fourth year. Right now, I'm in between my fourth and my fifth year of sobriety. I got like four years, 10 months clean, and it's absolutely amazing. I'm addicted to life. And I know that might sound cheesy to you guys, and it is pretty damn cheesy, but I'm literally addicted to life. I'm learning how to play guitar. I love it. I'm progressing. I'm not very good yet, but I love it. I'm doing sports. I have like 3 different sports that I play regularly, that I'm engaged in, that I'm actively trying to become better at. I got this YouTube channel that I'm trying to grow. I love my job. I'm progressing in my career. I just recently got into Bitcoin and trying to day trade Bitcoins to make like a couple bucks here and there. My life is full. I have many different avenues of pursuit, I guess you could call it, that I'm like actively, like fully engaged in. Love getting, like, I don't have enough time to do all the things I want to do. I'm like, I want to go rock climbing. I want to run a marathon. I want to be super good at day trading in Bitcoin. I want to be able to shred with the best of them. I want to be in a band. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to buy a house. I want to do, like, it's so amazing. Like, I never thought I would be able to live this quality of life. Like, I was literally homeless, living in a tent, doing petty crimes, being 120 pounds, and being almost certain I was never to be able to hold down a job again, and I would never find that special someone, and I would never be successful. And like, my life is so different than that. It's amazing. Like, I almost forgot what it's like to feel that shitty about yourself. Like, the weeks leading up to me coming to a treatment center, which ultimately I got sober at that treatment center, were so dark and so horrible. And it was like that for almost a decade of my life, from when I was 16 to when I was like roughly 27. I guess that's over a decade. That's 11 years. It was absolutely miserable, and I hated myself, and I hated the way that my life had turned out. And I was constantly living under the shadow of my unmet potential. And it was just horrible. And I had zero hope that I would eventually fulfill that potential. I would ever be able to actualize it. But I did. But the point is, it didn't happen overnight. It actually took a really long time. And guys, to be honest with you, like, if you're anything like me, you will spend the first like 9 to 12 months of your recovery almost completely locked in self-doubt. I was chronically undervaluing myself. Am I doing this recovery thing right? Did I do my step 4 properly? Did I get everything out of my step 5? Like, am I a good employee? Am I a good sponsor? Like, am I going to be able to do all this stuff? And like, I didn't think I was. And I was it was scary. And I just hung on to prayer, and I hung on to meditation for dear life. I was basically just like, fucking help me. I have no idea how to do this. Help me through this. And like, I don't even know what happened. All I know is that I did everything that the program asks of me, and enough time had gone by, and enough prayer, enough meditation, enough step work. I was sponsoring guys. I had like 5 guys in the early work at a time, like my first 3 years in recovery, and everything that they said would happen, happened. All the promises came true in my life, and I get to enjoy a level of stability that I never even thought was possible. Every day my life goes by, it gets better than the last. I'm not joking, you guys. It's literally better every single day. You can't put a price on that. I would not trade the way that I feel today for millions and millions of dollars. It is absolutely priceless. It is everything that I was always looking for. Spiritual malady gone. Can't put a price on that. All right, guys, that's it for today. Recovery is very rewarding. It's very gratifying, but the main kind of takeaway is that it takes a really long time. You got to work your ass off. You got to pray like a son of a bitch. You got to meditate like a son of a bitch, and eventually it happens, okay? You will doubt yourself. It does take a very long time. You probably will be very, very bored and unfulfilled in your first year and a half of sobriety. It takes a really long time for the chemicals to balance themselves and for your psychology to balance itself, but you will get there as long as you stick to it. Thanks for stopping by, guys. Please hit the like. Please hit the subscribe button. I will see you guys next time. See you later.